Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Right, before I go any further, if I have to cut off very abruptly, I do apologise. Willow is moving about upstairs. She was asleep sort of 30 minutes ago, but just as I was about to start this, I can hear her moving about and I can hear things clattering. I can hear things hitting the floor. So I've no idea what she's doing or what she's destroying at the moment, but I'm going to leave her to it in the hope that it just kind of wears off and she goes back to sleep again. But if I do have to dash off, I do apologise. Right, first of all, thank you very much for the positive reception that my first video in a few weeks got last week. I didn't think it was that good at all, but you guys, as usual, encouraged me and basically said that there was nothing wrong with it. So thanks ever so much for that, guys. It's much appreciated. I think I feel a little bit more sort of back in my stride this week. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a weekly thing, this. I've been lucky enough over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've had long weekends off, sort of finishing on sort of 10 o'clock on a Thursday and having Friday off. So I've had a bit more time to do videos over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it will probably go to fortnightly at some point, but I'm not going to tie myself down to any kind of a schedule. I will just do them when I can, basically when I've got things to talk about. As we agreed last time, there's no point in coming on and chatting for half an hour or whatever if you've got very little to say. So that's how it's gonna work, but I've got quite a bit to get through, so I thought I'd do you another one this week. So as I say, thank you very much for the positive comments last week. Very, very much appreciated, and hopefully everything will be fine from here on in. So right, subscribers, I'm up to 209. I don't know how this is happening. It's got to be the algorithms or what, I do not know. But they are very, very slowly creeping up. So that's another reason I would like to keep this going, either on a weekly or a fortnightly basis if I can, because obviously there are people that are subscribing. So one new subscriber, Brian Stulzaft, I hope I've spelt that right, pronounced that right, mate. Welcome to the channel. As I say to everybody, hope you like what we're doing here. Feel free to comment on the videos or ask any questions or anything like that. Anything to give me something to talk about is much appreciated. So as I say, welcome to the channel, and that's Brian Stulzaft. Movie news, just a quick bit. Chuck Norris, that one caught me off guard. Died this week, aged 86, I think he was. Have to say, I was not a massive fan, mostly because I've not really seen that many of his movies. I think I've only seen 2. I've seen Way of the Dragon, but that was mostly obviously due to Bruce Lee. And the only other Chuck Norris film I've ever seen is Silent Rage. And that was on a double bill with a film that I actually went to see, which was Piranha 2. And it turned out to be one of those rare instances where the supporting feature, which was Chuck Norris in Silent Rage, was actually, I thought, miles better than the movie that I'd actually gone to see, which was Piranha 2: The Spawning, which was one of James Cameron's very, very early movies. Doesn't show. I haven't seen it since, do you remember the silver RCA Columbia boxes, VHS? I think I rented a copy or I bought a copy years and years ago. Haven't watched it. I don't even think I'm fairly sure that I've not even got it anymore. I wouldn't mind taking a look at it now just to see whether it's as bad as I remember it being. But they're the only 2 Chuck Norris films that I've seen, Way of the Dragon, Silent Rage. So I wouldn't mind taking in a couple more of his films. Mate of mine, Ralph, he loves Chuck Norris. I think his favourite is Lone Wolf McQuade. So have you guys got any suggestions on which which movie I should start with as far as Chuck Norris goes? Is it Delta Force, Code of Silence? I do remember the TV adverts for the 70s movies that he made, around about 78, 79. Is it The Good Guys Wear Black? And I think The Octagon was another one. Always intrigued by those. But if you've got any suggestions as to where I should start on a Chuck Norris journey, just drop them in the comments below and I'll give them a go. So, right, Mark, you were asking which of the video nasties that I'd seen in the Box of the Damned box set that somebody had either given you or lent you. There's quite a few titles in there. I've seen quite a few. I thought I'd seen sort of 9 or 10, but it turns out it's actually 6 or 7. I've seen Evil Speak. That was one of the better ones. I've seen I Spit on Your Grave, unfortunately. Driller Killer, meh, I think you'd call it. Evil Dead, Last House on the Left I've seen. Contamination I've seen. Zombie Flesh Eaters I've seen. The Splinter. Didn't like that at all. Video Nasties, are you going to like them? I don't know, Mark, because I think what a lot of people forget, well, people that were around when the Video Nasty thing was in full swing, these movies were sort of legendary at the time. There was a list going around of everything that was banned, and it was like a kind of a thing that you tried to track down these elusive movies that you couldn't get anywhere. You couldn't rent them unless it was sort of under the counter and stuff like that. It was all very sort of covert. But I think what a lot of people forget is that most of these movies were absolutely bloody awful. Driller Killer, I remember renting that based on the sleeve artwork. I think that scene happened once. The acting was terrible. The movie itself was just bloody awful. Last House on the Left, you would never guess that it was an early version of, well, an early work of Wes Craven's. Again, didn't like it. I thought it was a grubby, horrible little film. Out of his early works, I'd rather go for The Hills Have Eyes, which I thought was excellent. Last House on the Left, I could well have done without. I did watch it quite recently, probably about a year ago, and it is still as vile as I remember it being the first time I watched it. I've got it on Blu-ray, and it's got so many extras I can't even keep track of them. So I'm holding on to that one just because of the extras, but I think it's safe to say I will never watch that version of Last House on the Left again. But I'd be curious to know what you make of these movies, Mark, when you've actually watched some of them. As I say, most of them were just terrible. They really were, and we forget that. When we look back, sort of with rose-tinted glasses about, it was brilliant, the Video Nasties. Yes, it was, absolutely, but the films were awful. So, let me know what you think, mate. Let's see now. Original versus remake. I've had some brilliant suggestions from you guys, some that I'd not even thought about. Rick, you said Pet Sematary, which I've seen the original, but I've not seen the remake. Last House on the Left, there it is again. I have seen the original, but not the remake, but I have got it. The Evil Dead, I've seen both versions of that. They just seem to get more violent. I mean, the original was just a piece of work. It was absolutely brilliant. The remake I did see, but it was a long time ago. But I do remember there was a lot of this going on, and oh, bleeding hell, that kind of thing. I Spit on Your Grave. I think my history with this movie is quite well known, Rick. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch that one again. I wouldn't mind seeing probably the original again, just to see again whether it's as grubby as I remember it being. But I do remember it being a fairly well-made film. It was one of the better ones. The remake, I just don't think I could put myself through it again. The eyes and the fish hooks and no. So I don't know. I'll take that one under advisement, and I'll give that some thought. But thanks for that, Rick. Much appreciated. I knew you'd go for the absolutely horrible ones. Simon says, King Kong. Seen the original. I've seen the Peter Jackson version. I haven't seen the 1976 Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange version, the Dino De Laurentiis movie. I've not seen that one yet, but again, got it on Blu-ray. The Wages of Fear and Sorcerer. I didn't know I'd got these, but looking on the shelf, there's my original Blu-ray of The Wages of Fear, which I've never seen, but I've heard excellent things about, so I will be taking that one in. And that's my copy of Sorcerer, which again, I've not seen, but I didn't realise at the time that it was a direct remake of The Wages of Fear. So that could be a back-to-back double bill at some point very, very soon. You also recommended Assault on Precinct 13. I think the original is an absolute classic. Never felt the need to watch the remake, but I will now. Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, again, seen the original. I might have seen the remake. Is it John Travolta? If it's John Travolta, I might have seen that. Cape Fear. I would love to see the original with Gregory Peck. Not sure I could watch the remake again. If I remember right, the last time I watched it, a few years ago, I got as far as that poor woman having her arm broken, and that was it. I thought, oh, I can't do this. Internal Affairs and The Departed. Not seen The Departed, heard excellent things about it. I didn't realise it was a remake at the time of is it a Korean movie called Internal Affairs? So I will be taking those on. So thanks for that, Simon, much appreciated. Jason K, morning Jay. You recommended the Dead series, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Let's see, remake of Night of the Living Dead was 1990, Dawn of the Dead was 2004, and Day of the Dead, you've recommended watching the original but not the remake. So I'm assuming the remake is not that good, but being a completist, I probably will take it in. This week's original versus remake is a 1971 movie. Jason, you guessed it right, by the way. You didn't tell me, but I'm fairly sure you guessed it right. From 1971, Dustin Hoffman and Susan George, directed by Sam Peckinpah, Straw Dogs. Absolute classic, seen it many, many times, love the movie. It is controversial as hell, caused major issues with the censors at the time, and I can see why. It was banned for quite a few years. I think it was one of those that got caught up in the video nasty era, I'm fairly sure it was, and it didn't make a reappearance until I think the 2000s, when it was passed pretty much uncut. But powerful movie, really, really powerful movie. Watched it again for the first time in ages last week and thoroughly enjoyed it all over again. The remake. Watched this last night. This is James Marsden, Alexander Skarsgård. James Woods is in this. Okay, so basically they've transferred the action to the Deep South in America. And we've got another bunch of feral twats that live in this backwater. Basically, the story is exactly the same as the original. You could pretty much sort of put the scenes side by side and they'd be almost identical. James Woods is excellent in it. Alexander Skarsgård is superb as he always is. James Marsden, not too bad as the Dustin Hoffman character. Would I watch this again? I don't know. Jason, I think you said that if you take this as a standalone movie and not as a remake, it's actually not bad. It's well made, I'll give you that. It hasn't got the icky feeling that the original had, but it was a really, really unpleasant watch, especially the last 15-20 minutes. Obviously, they didn't have nail guns back in 1971, but James Marsden was putting one to good use last night. Would I watch it again? I don't think I would. I really don't think I would. I wouldn't feel the need to. This is one of those remakes that I could probably say is... There she goes. She's off now, barking at something. It's one of those remakes that I think was probably completely unnecessary. The original was unpleasant enough. This is just sort of off the scale, sort of violent. It's just not my kind of film. It really isn't. Oh, what is the matter with her? Can you hear her? It's got this funny little high-pitched bark that does make me smile, apart from now while I'm trying to record. But no, I don't think I'll be watching this again. So I'm going to marry this up as I've never seen it and bin it or keep it. And I'm going to say I'm probably going to bin this one because I think it's fairly safe to say that I'm not going to watch it again. Not because of the violence and not because I can't take the violence, but because I didn't really think it was that brilliant. I'd rather watch the original, given the two of them side by side. I'd pick the Peckinpah original anytime. So that's a definite bin it. That's going to the charity shop tomorrow, that one. Right, what have I got here? Reviews. Oh, now then. Nobody. We were talking about this last week, Guy. I think you watched Nobody 2. And I think you said that pretty much everybody will have seen the original, apart from Tony, and you weren't wrong. Now, I bought this ages ago, but I've never really got round to watching it. So I thought, you know what, this is the perfect time. So I banged it on yesterday afternoon. Um, let's see, what have you guys said? Jason P, you put a little meme on, said, toughen up, little soldier. Because I was on about the violence. Let's see, Simon, you said it's a fun movie. Guy says, the bus scene is one of the best fight scenes of modern times. It's well done, I'll give you that. Rob said, pretty mild compared to some of the stuff I've seen. What stuff have you seen that is worse than this as far as violence goes? I don't know. Right, positives first. A really well made film. Bob Odenkirk, who I don't know from Adam, was really, really good as the mild mannered guy who was basically pushed too far. It never gets explained, unless I missed it, what he did in this past life. He was some kind of an agent, wasn't he? If I remember right. I might have missed it. But the film itself is really, really well done. Christopher Lloyd is in this. It was really, really good. As it stands as a movie, I enjoyed it. It was just, as I say, there was a lot of sort of fingers in ears and volume going down and stuff like that. The bus scene was just horrendous. And I know it is just me. I know it is, because you guys love this. Everybody seems to love this. And nobody too is going down a storm on streaming. So it is me. It obviously me. But I'm going to persist with it, as Jason says. Toughen up, little soldier. I will certainly try. And I would like to give this a go again, and just basically leave the remote control in another room and try to avoid sticking my fingers in my ears. I'm such an old lady. I know, but it's just one of those things that I don't seem to be able to stomach, but we'll see. I'll give it another go at some point. So I'm not going to throw this one out. This is definitely a keep it for the moment. But I think if I watch it again at some point, or at least just watch the fight scenes, which is pretty much most of it, I'm fairly certain that at some point I'll just think, do you know what? It's just a noise. The sound of bones breaking, it's just a noise. It's not even real. You keep telling yourself that, Tone. But the movie itself, really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I just did a lot of cringing. So we'll see how we get on with it the second time round, if it gets the second time round. What else have I been watching? I've got a list here of all the ones. I'll just run through them very quickly. I won't go into detail on them. The King and Queen of Rock and Roll, which I think I mentioned last week, which was the documentary on Little Richard, which was a real revelation. What a brave man, as Guy said, to be openly gay and black in the deep south in the 50s. Fucking hell. Oof. That man's got King Kong balls, I'll tell you. And I think he's still alive. But the documentary was very, very entertaining. Really, really enjoyed it. Becoming Victoria Wood, another documentary we both thoroughly enjoyed. We're both sort of fans of Victoria Wood. I had no idea of the struggles she had when she first started. How many misfires and sort of misstarts there were with her career. It took years. It took decades before she got to where we know her as sort of dinner ladies and stuff like that, Acorn Antiques. Really, really good documentary. Just be prepared for it to be a little bit of a tough watch, because she wasn't treated very well in the early days. It was a male-dominated sort of field, sort of comedy and stuff like that. But really good documentary, well worth a look. I think it's streaming on You Watch, if I remember right. CBGB. Do you remember the club in New York where the Talking Heads started? Debbie Harry started with Blondie. A movie starring Alan Rickman on the founding of the CBGB Club. Guy, if you've not seen it, get on it. It is a cracking movie, really, really good. The soundtrack is brilliant. All the people that are supposed to be famous people, you know who they are straight away. But it's really, really good if you get the chance to watch it. It was streaming on Prime. I'm not sure whether it still is, but just have a look, Guy, because it is right up your street, I promise you. We've also been watching one or two series. Daisy May and Charlie Cooper's Night Watch. I didn't see This Country when it first came out, but we've just started watching that and we're thoroughly enjoying it. I think we're nearly through the first series. But they also do a sort of a ghost watch type thing where they stop overnight in haunted locations. The shows are only 30 minutes, so they're perfect fillers. But I like them as a couple, as a brother and sister. I love them. I think they're amazing. So that's Daisy May and Charlie Cooper's Night Watch. I think that's on BBC iPlayer. Lord of the Flies. Who remembers reading that one at school? I've still got my copy upstairs from school. A really, really good adaptation. It's a 4-part drama. based on the book, obviously. It's a very sort of dreamlike series. I thought it was excellent, and the standout performance for me was the little kid that played Piggy. Oh my God, how tragic was he? Again, if you've not watched it, it's streaming on BBC iPlayer. Well worth a watch. From what I remember, and I haven't read the book since I was at school, it sticks pretty. It keeps pretty faithful to the book, so it won't be one of those things that's unrecognisable. I had seen the original 1962 version by Peter Brook, the black and white one. We actually watched that at school. They screened it while we were sort of reading the book, and they thought it might help if we actually saw the movie version. So we actually saw that, and that was pretty dark. And I also saw the Balthazar Getty version of the 90s, which wasn't bad. But this 4-part series is just excellent, so well worth a look. Swiped, the school that banned smartphones. Okay, so we go into a comprehensive. Are they called comprehensives anymore, or high schools? I don't know. Basically, go into a school, and there's a class of 13-year-olds that have agreed to an experiment where they discard their smartphones. They put them all in a big box and they do without them for, I think it's 30 days. Some of them cope very well. Some of them basically start to live again. Others, you would think they'd had the right arm taken off them. It was a real eye-opener, especially when you find out how easy it is to access, how easy it is for kids to access material that they absolutely should never, ever be able to see. It's an eye-opener, and I think that's on All 4. So if you get the chance, have a look. It'll surprise you. Swiped, it's called, the school that bans smartphones. The lady, which is there was a famous news story. I mean, it was so famous I completely missed it. I knew nothing about this. Sarah Ferguson basically took on a kind of a lady in waiting, who she became very good friends with. And this lady got involved in some kind of a murder. Really, really good. Stars the lady that played Anne Boleyn in The Tudors, and I always get her name mixed up. Is it Natalie? I want to say Natalie Dormer, but I'm not sure it is her. But have a look anyway. It's on ITVX, I believe, that one. That's called The Lady. So that's all the series I've been watching. Let's see, those two. Bin It or Keep It's that I was going to watch this week. I've not watched either of them yet because I've been too busy watching Nobody and all sorts of other bits and pieces. I think it was Prisoners and The Last Castle, so I'm carrying those over to either next week or the next video, whenever it is. So, right, just got a few bits to show off here, and I shall leave you alone to get on with your weekend. Mostly magazines and a couple of DVDs. Let's see, latest issue of Empire. That's the May issue. Latest issue of SFX. I saw this in Morrison's and I couldn't resist it. I love this sort of stuff. Myths and Legends of the British Isles. King Arthur, Scottish folklore, medieval witches. I love reading about stuff like that. So that's a definite one I'm going to get into. What have I got here? My first issue of Vintage Rock, which I think I put on the music group, I think. I've had a read of some of the articles in this. Fascinating. I've just developed just recently this interest in older music. I mean, I've always liked older music, but mostly 70s and possibly 60s. Never really went back to the 50s, and I've suddenly realised, listening to a lot of it, that I quite like most of it. So I thought I'd subscribe to this. Once I've done with these guys, I think you probably will want these, so I shall add these to the pile of stuff that I'm saving for you. I'm fairly sure you're going to want that. This is a special from the people that do Vintage Rock, Elvis at the Movies. I don't think I have ever seen an Elvis movie, which one of the items that's coming up very shortly is going to surprise you. But I think this was about £7, but it's fairly comprehensive, covers all of his movies, because I would really, really like to take a look at some of his films. Caroline, I think she swears by him as sort of rainy Saturday afternoon movies. So that's that one. The latest issue of The Dark Side. A couple of issues of Yours Retro. articles on Charlie Chaplin, Billy Fury, Blake Seven, the movie Trapeze, another issue of Yours Retro. So I am falling behind. And yes, I know I should get time to watch these articles on Batman, Happy Days, The Blob, Elizabeth Taylor. And this, I purchased the original volume of this a couple of years ago, and I didn't realise that this volume actually existed. Volume 2 of Bootlace Cinema, collecting all kinds of movies on Super 8. And the artwork in this is just amazing. Oh, well, your device ran into a problem and needs to restart. We're just collecting some error info and then we'll restart for you. Thank you. Basically, there's a lot of sort of artwork and boxes and covers of Super 8 movies. I love flicking through things like this because it always brings back memories of Glyn Williams in Bargates, who used to rent out Super 8mm movies, and I rented out quite a few when I got my first projector. So seeing those sleeves is just amazing. Let me just move this map. There you go. It just started up again. So right, I've got some DVDs. I've got one book. We watched, as you may know, last Saturday an Osmonds concert, which was absolutely brilliant. It was a 50th reunion, 50th anniversary reunion, which was just superb. Even Rob enjoyed it. So I thought there are two autobiographies from, I think, Alan and Wayne, which I'm going to be getting hold of, but I spotted this one really cheap. Marie Osmond. Now, Rob's actually been reading this because it's been sat on my desk all week, and he keeps coming into me saying, just been reading a bit of that Marie Osmond book. Did you know? So I said, no, because I haven't read it yet. It's called Might As Well Laugh About It Now. It's a New York Times bestseller. Know very little about her apart from she did a long-running series with Donny, and obviously her first single, Paper Roses, was just amazing. So, looking forward to having a read of that. DVDs. Guy, you might be interested in this one. Elstree, 1976. This is the making of Star Wars, A New Hope, seen through the eyes of the extras and the bit part actors and some of the people that were in costume. Not Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and all that lot. They don't get a look in on this one. This is all seen from the perspective of people that were basically overlooked 50 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to having a look at this. I've been after it for ages, but I couldn't remember the title of it. Spotted it on Amazon and thought, you know what, I'll have a go at that. The Girl Can't Help It. This is pandering to my new love of rock and roll. I believe Little Richard features in this, along with a lot of the old rock and roll acts. This is Jane Mansfield. Again, know very little about it, apart from the fact that it's got some amazing cameos in it. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that. That is definitely a Saturday afternoon movie. Spotted this for £3 and couldn't resist it. Kim Newman's Guide to the Flip Side of British Cinema. There is a series of movies, I think they're called Flipside, on the BFI label, and they're all very, very rare British movies that I've never heard of. But some of them look absolutely fascinating, and this is Kim Newman's views on some of those movies. I think it only lasts for 40 minutes, but there are some shorts on there that sort of flesh it out to about an hour and a half. And that's the back of it if you want to have a read. But I like Kim Newman. I like listening to him talk. He's another Kermo that would just talk about horror all day long. And finally, before I've even watched a single Elvis film, and I've not done with this yet, I saw this for £7 and I thought, you know what a starting point. Elvis Presley 14 film collection. And on here you have got Jailhouse Rock, It Happened at the World's Fair, Kissing Cousins, Viva Las Vegas, Girl Happy, Harem Scarem, Spin Out, Double Trouble, Stay Away Joe, Speedway, Live a Little, Love a Little, Charo, The Trouble with Girls, Elvis, That's the Way It Is, that's special edition, that's the concert one. I mean, that's a hell of a collection for, I think this is upside down, but hell of a collection for £7. It's a good starting point. You know, even if I think they're all crap, I can just take this down the charity shop and they'll get a few quid for this. So I'm looking forward to having a look at the first one, actually. It'll probably be Jailhouse Rock, or I could do it all in chronological order, as you'll see. That's it. That's all I've got. 29 minutes and 54 seconds. That's perfect. 30 minutes. I did think 15 minutes was a bit quick last week. I felt like I was really, really rushing it. And I also felt that for those 15 minutes, I didn't have a fat lot to say. Whereas this week has felt a lot better. So I'm going to try and record another one over the weekend. It'll probably be a shorter one because I won't have watched very much over the last over the next couple of days. But if I can keep this going weekly, even if it is just 15 minutes, not rushed, not a rushed 15 minutes like it was last week, but a proper 15 minutes. But again, I don't want to tie myself down to a time. If it turns out being 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. But I really don't want to go back to doing an hour and a half or an hour and 10 minutes or whatever it was. That's a little bit too much. So, right, I shall let you all go. Enjoy your weekends, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining me. And once again, thank you so much for all the positive comments last week. I remember turning the camera off at the end of recording that and thinking to myself, oh, well, that was shit. But you guys have sort of encouraged me as per usual, and basically said that it wasn't that bad. So thanks ever so much for that. Have a brilliant weekend, folks, and fingers crossed I will talk to you all again next week. Have a great week next week, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Take care. Ta-da.